Hello, good evening, welcome to Easy8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, it says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. If you're new here to Easy8, this is just an online painting club. This is exactly what it says on the tin. Somewhere for you to come along, make some friends over here in the live chat and do some painting, get through your big hoard of unpainted plastic models or whatever kind of materials they're made from, I suppose. If it's unpainted, bring it along, come and paint it with us this evening. If you're looking for a tutorial, you might find something like that here, but it's not the intention of this show. If you want to find something like that, there's loads of stuff out there on the internet. Go and have a look. There's loads of it out there, and it's really, really good. Because I'm not a very good painter. I'm just trying to get through some of my stuff. For the next 2 hours, I'm going to be painting some of my models, or at least one of my models, in a hope to kind of get some stuff done to a good quality and get through it done pretty fast, although I seem to suck at the latter. So yeah, it's a live show, but you can watch it back on the replay. Last week we had probably our quietest show for a long time. It happens sometimes. I forget what it was exactly that was kind of going on last week. The London Marathon. Was the London Marathon last week, or was that the week before? Anyway, it was just a really quiet show. We had 2 online viewers, and then we managed to go up to like 58, 59 views over the last week, so you can watch it back on the replay if you want to. We're not just here on YouTube, we're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and you can also catch me at the end of the show on the Easy8 After Party on Discord. We've got a load of people that have joined us here in the live chat today. We've got Kes, we've got Staff, we've got Jeff, we've got Scallion TV. Hi guys, thanks very much for coming along. It's really nice to see a little bit more of a livelier chat. Maybe I should call it the lively chat. See what I did there? No? Okay, cool. If you are painting something this evening, I genuinely would like to know what it is. I don't just say that to kind of farm the likes or anything like that. If you are painting something this evening, if you've got a little project going on, tell us all about it. Either drop it down there in the comment section if you're watching back a little bit later on, or stick it over here in the live chat and get talking with these guys over here, and I'll try and keep up as best I can. If you want to, you can show a picture of it. I'm out of breath. If you want to, you can show a picture of it and put it on Facebook. Some people have been doing that already this evening. If you want to head on over to Facebook, there's a link just down there to all of our platforms if you want to. You can't drop photos anymore for some reason. I say this every week on the Facebook page as it stands, but you can stick it as a comment to any of the posts that I put up there, and of course every week I put up a schedule, so you could just drop it in. I'm looking over to the side, you're wondering what I'm looking at. I've got my phone just here so I can see what it is that you guys are dropping in there. I've seen some AI images for inspiration. It's a great source of inspiration. I never really find that they get what it is that exactly that I'm looking for. I try to find inspiration in other people's works and the art that comes out, like the proper artwork. But I can see the advantage for having AI. It just kind of draws its own stuff, and it can look pretty cool. So there's some wonderful pictures put up here by Mike. You should definitely go and have a little look. And then Kez has put up some photos of completed mechs. They look absolutely fantastic. Well done. They look, you've got contrast paints, you've got army painter speed paints, I believe, and they are really paying off. And I see that you've already primed your like little monorail military train that you purchased when we, the Easy8 community, went to Salute 50 the other week. What a phenomenal trip out that was. And you didn't know whether to buy the civilian one or the military one, so you bought both. And I'm really excited. They're very bright green, and I'm very excited to see how they look. I can see you put in there now, painting a futuristic military train this evening. And like the monorail is so cool because I forget what the actual metal was. Do you know what? I'm not even going to try and pronounce a word that I don't even remember what it is. But it's a flexible metal that always you can just roll it back up into a little coil, and you can straighten it out. You can move it into whatever shape you want, and it looks really cool. We got chatting to the actual sculptor of it as well. We were there for ages talking about the sculpt, and it looks fabulous. And of course, you got a little bit of a discount if I remember right. You did? Yeah. It was nice. It was great. It was great to go and see all that stuff. What a wonderful week. So yeah, if you're painting something, tell me about it. I'd love to genuinely know. What am I going to be painting this week? I've got another Castellan Robot, because a few weeks ago, but it feels like a few weeks ago, it was probably like a few years ago, or at least a few months ago, I painted one up, and they generally come in pairs. I can see some people putting up photos now, literally live. Mike says doing some forge. Is that Frostgrave? Taking forever to load. They look cool. Absolutely love those. Look at the hair on those guys. They got like these painted hair on them. Fantastic. Is that guy carrying a sack over his shoulder? Or is that a giant fish? I'm going to go with sack. No, I'm going to go with fish. It sounds better. Frostgrave soldiers tonight. Wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah, so the last robot I did, really happy with it. It's looking really cool. I'm going to try and maybe tone down the sort of the damage or the wear and tear and the weathering on it, and try and focus a little bit more on just kind of getting it done quicker. And just a bit more, less is more. I went a little bit over the top with the sponge and kind of doing like the rusted damage and then kind of burnishing silvers behind it. It looks really cool. I just want a little bit less of it. Just see if I can get it done that little bit quicker. As I've been sat here over the last couple of days, I've been filing down some of the mould lines on him using the what I like to call the Marmite mould remover, which is the Citadel mould remover. Just some people hate it, some people love it. I really like it. And there's just a couple of extra little bits and pieces that I seem to have missed. Can't believe I've missed them. So before I do anything, I've just got to get like a little blade in there and just take some of those down. The rest of it will probably disappear under some paintwork. So yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take us straight over to the workbench, but before then, of course, don't forget that if you do like what we do here, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribers are really picking up, so if you're new to Easy 8, thank you so much for coming along. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. We were locked in at around about 84, 85 for a long time. We've gone up to 90. We're almost there. We're literally 10 away from hitting that big triple digit, and that's going to be such a rewarding feeling. I feel every single subscriber, but to get to 100 is going to be absolutely bonkers. Thank you so much. But of course, normally I say like subscribe to the show, but this week I'm going to say don't subscribe to the show. If you're new here or if you're old here, go and support a brother. There's John Takacs over at Out of This World Models and Minis. He's recently put up a few videos. There's a link to him just down there in the description, and he's just a guy over in the States who just paints whatever he wants when he feels like it, and he's got some really cool tastes in old-fashioned sci-fi and the cult classics and things like that. Lately, he's starting up the Michael Keaton Batman Batmobile. Really excited to see that. I assume it's Michael Keaton. It's the 89 Batman, which I think it is. So really excited to see that. He says it's taking a little bit longer to kind of get somewhere through with it. All recorded videos, no live videos. But recently, he's just finished a 2-part video on a Dread Knight, basically a Nurgle knight from Warhammer 40,000, where he's basically done his own stuff. So he's done some sculpting on it, he's done some kit bashing on it, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. And he gave us a little bit of a shout out for the Easy 8 community because of Takacs clamps. You're welcome. I gave him a laugh and I asked permission. Can I use your name? He said, yeah, it's fine. And he's so close to 500 subscribers. And I thought it would be a real nice gesture. If you like what John does, go and check him out first, obviously. Go see if you like what he does, and then just give him a subscribe as well, because they're so close to the 500 mark. I'll sacrifice my subscribers this week. Go help out a brother on the other side of the big pond. Because he supports us all the time, and, you know, on the other side of this big floating space marble that we've got, and it's very kind of him. So yeah, go show him some love. Anyway, that's enough of talking about subscribers. Let's go on over to the workbench and see what work. I spoke over my transition again, didn't I? See what work that it is that I've got to do before I can even start putting any paint on him. Jeff says, Scottish Bastille House, just finishing that, and I'm doing some bocage. I don't think I'm ever going to finish it. Yeah, but your thing is bocage. That is like that's the thing that you do, right? You're never going to finish bocage. You do wonderful bocage. Relish in the bocage. Kes says, thanks, not a discount, but a free resin building made of recycled resin. That was right, all of their leftover bits and pieces, they mulch down into like a resin powder, mix it with a bit of fresh resin, and then they mould solid buildings for like a fraction of the cost. So they never have any wastage, so nothing ever gets put into landfill. Brilliant idea, I'm right behind that, that's fantastic. We're looking at some pictures now. Mike's putting up some more pictures of his soldiers. The marchers, they look really cool. That's a very nice Bastille. Do you know what? The building's very nice, but I absolutely love your base. That's fantastic. The little rock sticking out the side there. That's fantastic. Well done. Keep it up. Keep it up. Put all those pictures up of all the stuff you're working on today. Right, so this is my Castellan Robot. This is what it will look like, but hopefully a little less battle damaged. I love the battle damage on there, but he stands out a little bit too much against the rest of the army, which are quite bright. They're still kind of like toned down brightness. They've got some nice colours on there, but they're not all weathered up like this guy. He does look really cool though. I want to tone it down just a little bit. And what I say by a little bit, if you have a little look here on this, I've got the hiccups every week. This little chest plate here, this has got like the perfect amount of damage on it. When I compare it to the other side or the other legs or whatever, it's a little bit too much, just a little bit. But I've got some really nice sort of patterns on there that I was really happy about, and I was trying to get some sort of like directional weathering on the hands here, because these giant hands will be used for smashing stuff up, right? So I got the impression that he's going to use his fists and punching through walls and tanks and tearing things around. So I tried to get these like streaking lines of like, you know, weathering and battle damage kind of going up, which I was really quite fond of. That worked really well. But otherwise, I thought that the battle damage was just a little too much. So I'm going to try and bring that back. But before I could do any of that, of course, I've got to base him. And before I can base, I mean, like, you know, prime him. But before I could do that, there's a few little bits and pieces that are just sticking out. And I want to attack all those before I get anywhere with the paint. Adrian's come to join us. Evening all. Thanks very much for coming along, Adrian. Nice to see you again. I hope you're doing well. So I did actually break my little scalpel blade the other day. So I haven't got a replacement for that. So I've just got this little Stanley knife. We call them Stanley knives in this country, but other countries call them craft knives, because I think the main provider or supply manufacturer of these blades in this country is Stanley. So they've been colloquially known as Stanley blades. So excuse the vernacular. Yeah, that's right. Throwing out the posh words today. I'll go back to single syllables, 3 letters in a minute. So all I'm just trying to do is just trying to remove these little tough lumps that are just there. Give a little bit of a blow of them. Get rid of all those little dusty bits. Even though they're kind of on the underside parts, they still might show, and you know, I like to take a little bit of pride in that at the very least. There's a couple of little bits here on the shoulder that I did sand down, and I used the Marmite mould remover on them, but it was just a little bit fiddly, so I'm just going to take those down as well. There we go. I don't think I've ever really done this on the show before. Doing mould removing. The one on the top of the hip here was pretty difficult to get to. So I'm just going to not cut my fingers off on the show. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I've got some fine sandpaper in there earlier, and that seemed to do a pretty good job. There's a little bit of sticky out bit here. That can go away. Almost done. And then there was 2 little bits just on side these little vents, these little exhausts, whatever they are. There was a little bit here. What does it say? And all vacuum cleaners are hoovers. But not every hoover is a vacuum cleaner. Last little bit. Come on. The reason I'm doing this is because, as I said before, virtually all of my Dectus Mechanicus models were given to me by a friend who I work with, who just had a big change of lifestyle, moved house, and lots of big life changes, and it was all a bit soon and sudden, and a bit of a shock, I think, and wanted his models to go to someone who would give them some love and joy, and they certainly will get that with me. But he's one of those people that kind of puts them all together and then does a little bit of mould line management, because he has so much stuff he didn't really bother with it, as where I can't let it sit. Anyway, I think I've pretty much done all of that. Just give it a bit of a blow, and then I think we're good to go. I'm not going to worry about any more. So first things first, as I need to get a bit of primer on it. I've got my tea. Happy Friday, everybody. Stafford says, I'm building another tank. What tank are you building today? Did you get the Sturmtiger? Did you get that in the end? Or have you got a couple of others that you're painting up today? Right. Before I go anywhere, I'd love to actually be able to spray paint onto something, but I've lost all my pieces of paper. So what I've got here is a piece of Amazon packaging paper. This is actually a really good thing to use as like you know, like a worktop protecting thing, because you know, the modern world, the information age, Amazon, it's prevalent. We all order from Amazon, come on, and it always comes with this stuff. So it's just stuff, right? You can just use it, it's free. I'm just going to put my compressor on, and what I need to do is get myself some surface primer. I'm going to use today white, because I'm using bright orange colours. Give that a little bit of a shake. And I'm going to try something a little bit new today. So I'm going to give them a priming all over, make them white all over. And I was thinking about doing some sort of, not OSL, what do you call it? Directional lighting. What do they call it when you know what I'm talking about? So light's coming from here. It's gone out of my head. But I thought rather than do like spray in black and then give some like directional light by highlights with whites, is I thought that I would actually spray underneath with a wash of brown. The Marder 11, says Staff. I'd love to see a photo of that. Pop that on Facebook. That would be cool. So yeah, I'm gonna completely spray in white, and then I'm probably gonna get some Seraphim Sepia. I'm just gonna pop a little bit of that in the airbrush. I'm just gonna see how well it flows. It might come out really, really fast and be quite hard to control for my crazy unskilled hands. But I'm hoping that it will provide a nice sort of shadow. Pre-shading is the word I was looking for. I'm going to try and like use the white, keep the white on the top surfaces as highlights, and maybe just attack a little bit of the bottom bits and underhangs, overhangs, the under pieces with this brown, so that when I go over it with the orange, it might show through as a little bit of pre-shading. It might not work at all, and it might, if it does work, separate this one a little bit from the style of this one. But I'm okay in the pursuit of, you know, excellence, trying to achieve excellence or just betterment. I think that might be a nice move. If it doesn't work, of course, I can just, you know, pivot it off and off we go. Anyway, the last time I used my airbrush, I didn't clean it out properly, as always is the case. Because I got the new needle and the new nozzle, it was actually very easy to clean, and it only took me about 60 seconds. So already having the new needle has proven to be so worthwhile. Anyway, just move you over here. I'm just going to pop a healthy amount of primer in the hopper, and I'm going to put a couple of drops of thinner in there just to help the flow of primer, because it seems to oh, the Marder 2, you put Marder 11, I see. Primer, because of its nature, it just seems to clog up a little bit and dry faster in the airbrush. So I'm going to put 1 drop of thinner and 1 drop of flow improver in there, and I'll mix that all up. There we go. Where's my little mixy brush? There it is. I've actually got some little mixing bowls that I can use to pour into the hopper on these airbrushes, and I probably need to get used to doing that. This has just become such a ingrained habit. There we go. Stick that in the water. Lovely. And because sometimes I get a little bit of air bubble coming up inside the hopper, I bought a little hopper lid. It's quite expensive, but I think that it might be an invaluable little addition to my airbrush. Anyway, let's give it a little bit of a flow test. Got a bit of a blockage there. I can see there's a little bit of black paint just poking out the end of the nozzle from the last time I used it, so let's give that a wipe down. Excellent, there we go. I can actually see that my my needle isn't poking out all the way. There we go, that's better. Put it together in a bit of a rush. Lovely. Here we go then. So, I'm just going to take my time. I always seem to get spatter with the primer. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe I'm pushing it through at the incorrect pressure. I'll just crank up the pressure a little bit. See if that stops it. It might be that the nozzle needs a little bit more of a clean. I'm not really that worried. See those few little brighter dots all over him? They're actually nice and flat. They're not like big, thick lumps. Don't know why that is. Just gonna hit it with some air, just to help what's already on there dry a little bit. And then back to spraying some more white on there. Jeff says, why are you buying more tanks? You have more than Germany. I'll have more than Russia soon, says Staff. Yeah, if you are new, Staff has a tank problem. So one of the things that I've been talking about over the last few weeks is trying to somehow start an Easy 8 Games Club. Easier said than done. I understand that there's an issue with that. Like it's not the easiest thing to set up in the world. Not everyone is local to me. There are a few viewers that are, and it's not enough to warrant setting up a games club, because those people are enough to kind of fill a living room. But if there are enough viewers or enough people in the area who wanted to start up a gaming club, it would be a wonderful thing to do. And I was thinking over the last few days how to expand that out to the wider community, even to the global viewers, because we have quite a few viewers that are over in the States and in Germany, India. We've got the Philippines. We've got viewers from all over the place. So how do we make a games club for those people? Well, I thought that we could actually find games that we mutually enjoy, and actually kind of play some sort of campaign where, like they used to do it with White Dwarf, with Games Workshop games. Everyone plays in a giant campaign, you just send your results in, you kind of get some sort of a narrative feel. And of course we could play that with virtually any game. It doesn't have to be anything from Games Workshop, it doesn't have to be Warhammer or Age of Sigmar or anything like that. 40k. It could be the North African campaign for World War II. In Bolt Action, it could be Frostgrave, whatever. But if there's a game out there that the majority of people are into and like to play, maybe that's something that we can all do as a community and play together, and give a sort of an Easy 8 community games club test run. Let me know your feelings and feedback by telling me about it in the live chat today, or in the comment section, or over on Facebook as well if you want to. And you can talk to me directly, of course, at the Easy 8 After Party on Discord. Links to all the platforms are in the description of this video. And if you remember last week, I said that I had mistakenly left Debris of War out of my interesting links. It was an accident, and I wasn't able to update it at the time, because I'm not allowed to update my videos until they've been out for about 24 hours. I have corrected that mistake. So this week and last week, there is a link to Debris of War, along with all the other links to all the other really cool traders and business providers, etc., that are out there. There's some wonderful stuff, and Debris of War belongs in that list because there's some fantastic resin terrain, amongst other things as well. Go check out Debris of War and all the other people that I've met recently at Salute 50. There are some wonderful businesses, terrain providers, model makers, painters, everything. Please go and check them out. Go and show some love. Buy some of their products. Give them your money. They are fantastic people and absolutely brilliant model makers, etc. So sorry, Anthony, or Tony, I think you prefer to be called. I'm not entirely sure. Mr. Debris of War. Jeff says, how about a nice game of thermal nuclear war? Oh, so what? Terminator the board game? we could do that if you wanted to. Like the film War Games. Would you like to play a game? No. Because I will lose. Jeff says, Staff says, what a tank at Africa Core? Yeah, you absolutely could. Because you've got enough, haven't you? Just making sure that I get into all the little overhangs and, you know, nooks and crannies. What is a nook and what is a cranny? We say them both together, but what are they individually? Oh, that's a nice little nook. Oh, that's a nice little cranny. No, I don't like that. I'm not going to say that again. I think I'm almost there with this priming. That's good because I can hear the end of the hopper. I think I've judged my amount of paint quite well. War Games the film. Greetings, Professor Falcon. Fantastic film, wasn't it? Okay, there we go. That's the end of that. Again, just going to pump some air all over this. Let that dry down a little bit. And I'm going to give this idea I've got with the Seraphim Sepia, see how it works. Just got a little dropper, little pipette, and I'm just going to pop some in there. And yeah, hopefully it works. If not, I'll just go straight back to the primer, just neaten it up, and then I'll just, you know, paint over it. It should be fine. But I thought it'd be an interesting idea. A little bit of pre-shading, and brown works really well with orange, because if you study colour theory and light theory, orange and brown are the same, which is why you don't get brown light. But if you did a dark enough orange, you would. Cool, let him sit there for a minute. Got a little bit of primer on my workbench there. Get up to you. Cool, right. Let's go straight to some sepia. Gonna give it just a little bit of shape, why not? And I will use this pipette. Got a whole load of pipettes now. I don't want to go bonkers with it. Just want a little bit. Oh, that's actually mixed in with some primer. That might be bad. Okay, do you know what? Let's just give it a go because, you know, it's got white on it already, right? Thought it had dried. Okay. So just some directional sprays. Trying to keep it nice and light. I've got to pressure it quite high at the moment. Just going to keep it there for a second and see what it's like. Oops, hold it properly down. Comes out in a really nice consistency, that's for sure. Just going to hit it with some air, try and dry that down, because obviously being a shade, it's very, very watery. I'm actually quite excited to see how this comes out. It might be the worst thing I've ever done. I suppose we'll see. The hands themselves are actually going to be red, as you've seen on the other one. But I thought I'd just hit them with the pre-shading as well, just because, well, you never know. It might actually have an effect. And there's a lot of silver on him as well. Looks quite funky, doesn't it? So viewing from the top, virtually white all over. Viewing from the bottom, quite an intense brown staining on there, which is really quite cool. Cool. Blocking up a little bit, but I think that might just be the primer that I put in there and haven't washed out properly. I just thought I'd just let them flow through together. That might have been a bad choice. But I've done that as much as I think I really should. I don't want to go too far with it. Do I? Do I want to go further? What does everybody else think? I think it looks quite cool. We'll see what happens. Right, let's just purge this a second. It is struggling a little bit. Probably should have cleaned the primer out before I put in the wash. I thought the wash would have been nice and watery, you know. But it mixed in a little bit and I don't think it went too well. What can you do? Last little bit. Just going to put some cleaner in there. Just going to put some neat cleaner in, just to help break down anything that might be lodged in the nozzle in the paint chamber. And then I'm just going to get straight into the orange. And then you'll remember some episodes ago, I was struggling with decisions of real metal colours or the sort of the more artificial sort of colour silvers that you can get through the Vallejo Game Air range, which is what I typically use. If I was to use the realistic silvers, then I have to airbrush them on, and then trying to paint orange over the top of that is very, very difficult. So also, like, the realistic silvers are kind of lost on models of this scale and in this style. So I'm not going to bother with that for these. Maybe that's for bigger models or for wholly metal sort of armies, like Necrons, for example. So yeah, there's no need to kind of airbrush the silver on. So airbrushing all the orange, hand brushing all the silver, which will take a little bit of time. That's where the time will really come into. Dave's joined us. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming along. What's on the bench, Dave? Nothing tonight. Just back from work. Oh, a long one today. I was late from work today. I was nearly late for the show. Had to feed the cats. But as I've been sitting here talking about choices of orange, I've just realised that I've locked the front door of the house and I've left my key in the lock and my partner is out. And well, she's working late. Hopefully she's working late enough that I get the intermission before she comes home, because she's going to be outside in the pouring rain. Because, well, the Easy 8 show has no brakes, and I ain't stopping. She'll make me stop. This could be really bad. I can't believe I've done that. Oh well, the show gotta go on. So I think I'm just gonna give the hopper a bit of a clean. I might just give the paint chamber a bit of a clean out as well. Maybe the needle needs a bit of a clean. So if I just strip that down, loosen off the needle, I'll just push that forwards. That looks pretty clean. It's got a bit of gunk on it there. That's all right. That's normal. Just wipe it down with a tissue. It's because the primer dries so fast, and because of the nature of the primer, it's designed to dry with a bit more texture so that other paints stick to it better. That it really clogs up inside the paint chamber and inside the nozzle just there. Jeff says, I bet it's a T34, referencing to Dave. It could be a T70. It's got quite a few T70s. After we went to Salute, got quite a few new tanks. Let's see if there's anything left in the paint chamber. There is not. Always put your needle in backwards. Stops you from potentially damaging the tip of your needle, which you will do. There's no potential. You'll damage the tip of your needle. And a new needle costs a lot of money, so don't do it. Just have a quick check inside the nozzle. Looks like it's clean. Just drop one needle protector. Clean the tip of the nozzle there, where we're getting all the spatter from all the primer, and it's just clogging up the end there. That's good. Yeah, you can see here how thick and lumpy that primer is on the inside of the needle protector. That can come away. And now I'll just push the needle into place. Lovely. Hopper goes back on. Right, now it's time for some orange. Got two oranges, one light, one dark. I use the darker one, I quite like it. This is hot orange, or Naranja Tostado. I quite like that, so it's a really nice sounding set of words. Just gonna give this a shake, and you know what happens here. Staff, I'm gonna let you. Come on now, I know there's a delay, but you can get there before I get there. You can do it. It's going on the Wazomatic. Too late, sir, too late. It's going to give that a really good mix, a really good stir. There we go. Now it should be ready to go. I'm going to put a couple of drops of flow improver in there, or maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. I know that this orange is really quite thin. Just going to let it go for a second. I'm going to turn the pressure down a fraction. It's up quite high at the moment. There we go. A bit of a flow test. It's coming out really well actually. There was no need for any flow improver. Bit of air, just to make sure that any of the wash that's on there, that Seraphim sepia, and make sure it's dry before the next coat goes on. Looks like it's dried with a little bit of a glossy sheen, and that's okay. Right, here we go. Just the lightest dusting. I don't want to go on heavy just yet. And you can see now they're almost indistinguishable between the orange and the brown. Staff, you're too late, mate. That's because like brown and orange, they are intrinsically linked. Intrinsically or extrinsically? They're linked. head of this guy is going to be black, so I'm not too worried about not getting the perfect coat on the head. I would like to get something on there because painting black on white is going to take a little bit longer. So the orange will help provide a bit of a stronger base there. And the same with the hands as well, they're going to be red, but that orange will provide a nice base for the red. So it's going to come out really, really bright. It's going to be like, you know, so sickly sweet sort of bright. It hurts your eyes, especially when you compare them to the other one, which I should definitely move just in case there's any sort of overspray there, so you can just sit over there for a minute. Getting quite a bit of work done already. It's nice when this happens, even though there's a long way to go before this model's completed. It kind of gives you the impression, doesn't it? I'm starting to wonder now if the brown was actually worth it, because it seems to be merging together. Maybe I needed a really dark brown on there to provide that pre-shading. We'll find out, I suppose. Was it worth the time? I suppose this is a dark orange, isn't it? Maybe I needed a heavier colour. Worth having a go. There's a little bit of pre-shading. I can see it right here. You can see that the orange is quite intense, and on the top there it's going up into a lighter colour. But that might just be because the layers are quite uneven at the moment. Didn't want to go in with a black pre-shading, that might have been too much. And of course I could just keep it so that I apply orange heavier underneath. That is another way of doing it. Well, it was just an idea I had the other day when I was thinking ahead and planning for the show. Give him some air. Give him some air. There we go. Cool. A bit late staff, says Jeff. It's because he's painting. He had to down tools and clean his brush and, you know, type it. Old man response time as well. You've got to factor that in too. I don't know if my brown pre-shading has done anything, you know. Well, better luck next time, perhaps. I've got various sort of larger models and machines and things that I could, you know, give that a try on. I've got a couple of dune walkers, which are like the crab-like walking tanks. I could try it on those. I've got various things. Oh, and I've run out of orange. Right, just give him a little bit of air. I'm just going to stick a bit of water through the airbrush and just purge him out a minute, just to clean out any drying paint. Yeah, that's flowing pretty cleanly now. That's lovely. Probably had to put down the Baileys, yeah. Is that advertising? I'm really nervous about my partner being locked out. I keep on checking my phone, make sure she hasn't phoned or sent a text message. I think I'm going to be okay, but schoolboy error. That could put me in the doghouse, that could. Right. A bit more orange. Don't think I need to go so much this time. I'm almost there with it, I think. Put in about 2/3 this time. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to hit him with a bit of air. Already those mould lines seem to have disappeared. Now of course that could change when I put some washes on him or any kind of highlights, but for the most part they seem to have disappeared, which is nice. That orange, richness of that orange is really starting to show now. Once it starts adding, building up a bit of a layer, it really starts showing up as a really nice colour. When it's on like quite weak and translucent, it looks a little bit cheap and a little bit rubbish, but I really like it when it starts building up some depth. Now it is quite tricky to get all of the parts done thoroughly, being that it's a pre-built model, so I just want to make sure that I'm being thorough and meticulous. So I'm sorry if watching this over and over is a little bit on the dull side, but I know you do the same. Okay, again, just with some air. Lovely. Jeff says, did you put your brush in your Baileys again? Don't ruin the Baileys. I suppose I could actually do some like post shading. So in the same way that I've just did my pre-shading, because orange and brown are so closely linked, I could come in and do some post shading and use that same colour in exactly the same way. I could do that. Might give that a go. I think I might have built up a bit of a layer on my needle. Just give that a bit of a clean down. Or just run out of paint in the hopper. I've run out of paint in the hopper. Should have put in that little bit more that I didn't put in deliberately. Oh well, what can you do? Just literally a couple of drops. A couple of drops is all I need. So I can see a tiny amount of the brown just poking through there where it did like a little coffee staining. You know, where it pulls up into a little ball. I just sort of left it there. I knew it was there. So it needed to be really quite intense for it to show through. And of course I've had to build up the layers quite heavily for this colour to stop being so translucent. So that's exactly what's happened there. Oh, I've just painted over it, which was a risk. And I'm okay with that, that's fine. What does everybody think? Do you think I should give it a go with doing the post shading? I'm calling it that loosely. I don't know if that's actually what it's called. It's just shading, isn't it? But just in the opposite way. Should I give that a go? I've actually just run out of paint again. Where's that magically disappearing to? Looking really good already. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm just getting in behind all the little areas that are left out, even if they're going to be silver, even if they're going to be red, whatever the colours are, just making sure that there's enough orange down there. If I miss something, it doesn't look bad later on. And of course, I just need a little bit of colour on this gun here. That's going to be silver or black or whatever later on. I can't remember what colour I painted. I had the machine gun on the other one. I've actually just run out. Oh well. We've got a little bit on there. Look. Cool. We are getting somewhere. Hit it with a little bit of air just to help speed up the drying process. Kes says, yeah, give it a go. Yeah, I think I will. What's the worst that's going to happen, right? I mean, I'm going to use that same colour to shade it anyway, and stain it down and kind of tone the orange down. And you see exactly what effect that does in just a second when I compare the two. This one's going to be so bright, it's already looking bright, it's going to hurt your eyes. Compare it to the softer looking orange, the dirtier sort of orange. In just a second. Here we go. So, I'm going to turn the compressor off for a minute, because I'm not going to use that for a few minutes, because it's actually getting very, very hot. There is still a little leak in my compressor, so it's working all the time, and yeah. Bless his little cotton socks. Let's pop that down here. So, here is this bad boy, already looking pretty good, pretty thoroughly orange. And I'll compare him to this guy. You can see the difference. This guy is Dayglow, and even if it was on an orange planet, that is luminous enough for it to stand out and go, hey, I'm over here. Camouflage is not an option. As with this guy here is much more grimdark. And I was trying to go for grimdark without actually using any of the traditional grimdark techniques that you see out there with all those cool weathering things that I've got access to. I just wanted to have a go at just kind of making him look a little bit grubbier. Like I say earlier, went a bit too far. So by applying the Seraphim neatly over him in a nice thin coat, it should just tone that orange down. And of course I can use that as a I'm going to say pre-shader, post-shader, shading at the same time, and just see where it gets me. It was coming up very fast because it is very watery. But I'll see if I can learn to control it, because you never know, it might be the worthwhile thing doing. Of course, I've got other brown paints that I can do the same thing with, and I don't necessarily have to do it with Seraphim. I could do it with another brown paint. But it's about finding the right one. I've got quite a few browns here. They don't come anywhere near Seraphim. I've got some terracotta, for example. That's a nice colour to use. But it might be totally inappropriate. My favourite brown, of course, charred brown. I use this for a lot of my weathering and rusts and mud. It's just a really good brown. I don't think anyone could do without it. So buy it immediately. Got some Beastie Brown, which is quite a subtle brown. And I've got Earth, which I always used to like, but actually I've kind of gone off of it because it's kind of a meh colour, you know. It's just got a bit of a attitude to it. Paints have attitude. Yeah, it's not. So I don't think those are kind of come anywhere near the sort of quality that Seraphim does. So I could like water some of this down. Just use that sparingly to get some sort of shading going in there. I don't know. Seraphim looks quite dark in the pot, but we know that it's a nice light warm colour. Who knows? Any ideas? Of course, I'm totally open to some suggestions. I've got other colours that I can use. I've got some contrast, like Gilliman's Flesh. That's a very nice colour for fleshy colours. Don't know how it would work on orange. Not really in the mood for experimenting too much, but it is an option, of course. I've got... what other ones? I've got a snakebite leather. It's not an appropriate colour. Don't really like that. Don't really know why I've got it. I bought it because, you know, impulse purchases. We all do it. We all do it. Reichland Flesh, which is another shade, so it's a watery paint rather than the contrast. It's always a bubbly one. Don't know why it froths, but it's an interesting colour. I quite like it. So yeah, I've got some options. Anyway, so I'm going to let that guy dry for a minute because he needs to. Because he's so thick. And I'm also still very nervous about having locked my partner out of the house. So we're at time for an intermission anyway. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. Because I always let it go cold. So yeah, we're going to disappear for a few minutes. I'm going to go and let my partner in, because that would be really bad. Anyway, we'll be back in 10 minutes. In the meantime, go and change your paint water and make sure you haven't left your partner outside. See you in a bit. Bye-bye. Welcome back. Turns out I did lock my partner out of the house, but she hadn't returned. So that was fortunate. Hope you had a good break. I've just been sat here cleaning out the airbrush because it's all gunked up with some paints that I've just been using. So just cleaning out the hopper right now. I hope your projects are going well this evening. Some of you have been working on some really cool projects. Don't forget, please put pictures of your projects that are in work in progress. Pop them up onto the Facebook page or put them down here in the comment section if you want to. You can even share them at the end of the show at the Easy 8 After Party on Discord if you want to. There is a link to all of our platforms just down there in the description of the video. Go and find them and share some pictures. That would be great. Yeah, this is a bit of a clogged up hopper. It's not a bad clogged up, it's just the paints that I was using have just kind of made a bit of a mess. So I'm just making sure that it's all nice and clean because, you know, I don't want the airbrush to get all clogged basically. So I'm just scooping out the orange. It's mixed in with some of the primer in where the hopper screws into the top of the paint chamber. It's just a little bit grimy, so I've got some cotton balls just to make sure that it gets cleaned out thoroughly. Cotton balls are very good for cleaning out the hopper and the paint chamber, and then cotton buds are very good for cleaning out all the smaller spaces in there. Anyway, that's looking pretty good. If you're new here to Easy 8, or if you just haven't done it before, please don't forget to subscribe. But this week we're helping out a brother on the other side of the planet, John Takax over at Out of This World Models and Minis. Make sure that you go in, have a little look at his stuff over there, and of course subscribe to his channel because he's so close to hitting the 500 mark. We're really close to hitting the 100. But, you know, I just thought it would be a nice gesture to go and do. And he just paints some really cool ideas and some really cool models. He just doesn't just do like one genre. He just does whatever he likes the look of. And he's a big Whovian, so he does a lot of Doctor Who stuff. I think he's done Daleks and things in the past. He's doing a Batmobile at the moment. And he's just done some really cool stuff. Just go and show him some love. And, yeah, subscribe to his channel because that would be cool, right? Anyway. I'm going to take you back over to the workbench now. Here we go. Where I've got a few of my bits and pieces lying around over here. So I've got the guy that I'm painting now, the guy that I painted previously for reference. Been looking at some different shades and washes and things that I could use to do a little bit of shading. I think I'm going to stay with Seraphim because, you know, it's the colour that I normally use. There's no point in wandering off-piste. So turn my compressor off so there's not a lot of air in there. Just going to make sure that the thing works. It's looking nice and clean inside. Yeah. Gets a bit grimy as all. Just going to put a little bit of cleaner in here, and I'm just going to pop that in the purge tank. Going to turn the compressor on first, of course, because that would be stupid, right? Oh, it's one of those days. There we go. Lovely. Right, so let's pop that to one side, get the cleaner out of here, and I'm just going to go straight in with some Seraphim. I'm just going to get my little pipette again, and I'm just going to put an amount in there, and I'm going to see how shading this guy goes. I want a slight coverage over the whole orange. As you can see, I've done that on here. If I compare like the shoulders, you can see that this orange is a little bit toned down compared to this one. So it's very, very bright. So a slight filter over the whole thing. Then I'm going to try a little bit of shading. Excuse me. And see how it goes. And if it becomes too much of a problem, then of course I can just go straight to using my brush. I've got the show playing on my phone here as I was using it in the live chat. It's very distracting seeing a delay on myself playing beside me. Let's just turn that off. Here we go. So, open up there. I've got my little bits of paper that I normally do my spraying on. This one here. Just a little bit better than the Amazon paper. Here we go. Had a bit of a tidy up in the workshop a little while ago, and a few things have gone walkabouts. Mysterious. Don't know where they could have gone. Honestly, it wasn't anything to do with me. I never lose things. Okay. I'm just going to put a few drops in. That's probably enough. I don't see it needs to be any more than that. Pop the rest back in the pot. Pop my lid back on there because that's a bit of a watery one. As I'm moving around, I don't want to spill it everywhere. It does have a little breather hole in the top of that lid, obviously, because, you know, pressure needs to push it through, right? So it's not like a watertight seal, but it is going to help me not get paint all over the place. Just drop it, Danny. Why don't you? Flow test. Do you know what? I'm going to do it on the other side of the piece of paper. A bit brighter, bleaches things out a little bit, but yeah, some old test paints and things on there. I tried typing or writing Easy 8 with the airbrush. Means I can see the actual colour of the sepia a bit better on the white. Sorry if that bleaches it out a little bit on your screen. Right, so just trying to learn the amount that it comes out. I want to keep it gentle. I don't want much to come out at all. I want like the subtlest effect. And of course, if I do mess it all up, then I can just come back in with some more orange and start again. But that would be a bit annoying if I had to do that. I'm just trying to learn the pressure that I need to do on the airbrush. And that is literally the battle with the airbrush. That's when you're learning an airbrush, it's all about how much pressure do you pull back on. If you've got a double action like I have, pushing down pushes air out, and pulling back pushes paint out. If you pull it back and down at the maximum, it's just going to go like everywhere. And I don't want that, obviously. So yeah, my phone's just got a life of its own in the background. It's just switched page. I wasn't even touching it. Please stop that. How dare you? The machines are rising up against me. Terminator, it started here first, alright? Just to let you know. When it all goes wrong, it was here. It wasn't my fault, it was my phone. Staff says the cat has decided that that my modelling is finished for the evening. What did it break? Seems to be working quite well. I quite like it. It's very different from the other one. Just trying to make sure that I do get a filter over the whole set of orange as well. And I am going to come in with brush as well and do a lot of like the panel linings. Because you can see that on the leg here, there's a nice little line in there. Do you see that? And that'll look really nice with some, maybe even some agrax in there as well. That'll look quite nice. What I do like about the washes, or the shades, I should call them shades, the Citadel shades through the airbrush, is that when they dry they have a really nice matte feel. If you get it on subtle enough, it looks really nice. That is really kind of bleaching out the camera there, isn't it? Let me turn that over and you should get some light back again. There we go, get the white balance sorted. Now the orange just stands out too much, right? It's actually quite hard to maintain the brown colour before it, when it goes up into the orange, it becomes quite indistinct. No, that's the wrong term. It becomes quite distinct and it changes the colour and it goes very clearly brown. So in a minute I'm going to move to brush and do more of that sort of filtering, but I quite like that. I quite like that. It's just a really subtle filter effect, and it is really toning that orange down. But I am comparing it to the other one where it is still much, much darker. So I've still got a long way to go. This is still kind of standing out like a sore thumb. So I'm just taking it nice and gentle from a distance. The shading has worked there, it's quite nice. Tank is stuck to the cat. Could you imagine? My cat does like eating the turrets off of my tanks. I can hear them outside the studio now. If you can hear lolloping around outside the door, they just want to come into the studio, but they pee when they go into places that they're not normally allowed into, and then they tear stuff up, so they're just not allowed in here. I say it is one of them that does it, but I don't trust them. It's toning it down. So the shading is really subtle, and it's only in places, in big bold places like on the front of the chest plate, and I can see that now, and I really like it. I wonder how long that will last when I do like other effects with brush and whatever, if that's something that's going to stick around. I feel like I've added a little bit of time to it, but if it stays, if it's got the longevity, using big words again, then I'd be really quite interested. You know, I might do it again in the future. Can everybody see the difference that it's making? Can you see how it's shaded underneath the chest to how bright it goes on the top? It's subtle. On my screen, it's definitely more subtle to the naked eye. It's for starters, it's a lot less day glow. I wonder how it looks on your screens. I quite like it. It has softened it down a little bit. Just trying to get some more on the legs because I think it will look quite cool down here as well. Just trying to get the air blast in the right direction. It's obviously very difficult trying to go through a base, you know. Anyway, I think I've kind of reached the point where I can just stop using this colour right now. I think I should probably go to doing it by brush. How much have I got left in here? Barely anything. Okay, again, I'm just going to purge this through with some water. Got a bit of a flow problem, it wasn't moving there. Would that be a purge? All I'm going to do now is think of cat puns and tank puns. Thanks for that. Turn off the compressor, don't need that now. Gonna go to brush. I do like using brush. I do miss the other when I use one for a while. It's nice to go back to the other one. So here we go. I'm gonna use the airbrush quickly just to add a little bit of air, just to dry down what I've just sprayed on, because the washes are, or the shades are very watery, obviously. Now before I go and apply more shades by brush, I'm going to paint up the red on the hands, and then after that, then I'll go in and do the silver on the internal parts. The reason I do it that way is because I don't want the brown on the silver. I want the brown on the red and on the orange, so it's about making sure that I get it the right way around. And then I can move on to silver as a separate stage of the whole project, knowing that I can do, I'll do the head black, I'll do probably the flamethrower on the top up here in silver, and I'll pick out all the skeletal parts. I call it the skeletal parts, but you know, like all the mechanical internal parts, as you can see here, and the big engine bay on the back, etc. It's a really nice spread of colours that I've managed to do on here, and I copied my friend as like a like a template, and of course his is painted very neatly and cleanly here. Different hands, they got the gun hands, but you can see like I used it as a template where the silvers were all laid out. Actually come into shot here, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? There you go. So yeah, some more tea. Or a Marjorie cap. I don't understand that one. Staff started the evening doing a Marder 2 and ended it with a tiger. Yeah, you sure did. Right, so red. What red? I use, I think it's Gore Red or Gory Red, which is a nice crimson-y colour. Let's just give that a bit of a shake. I am going to hit it on the Wazomatic, just for you, Steph. Give it a bit of a shake. It's been a little while since I've used it. Not too long, but sometime. There we go. Pop some of that palette there. Lovely. Quite a large space that I've got there. So to start with, I'm just going to use my number 2 Kolinsky brush, because it's an airbrush paint. Don't feel the need to water it down all that much. Going to use this one as a bit of a guide. So basically the whole hand, fingers and everything, and then later on I can pick out the internals of the digits with silver. So here we go. You can see that it's nice and thin and the orange shows through there. That's fine, that means it's going on nice and thin, and I'll do another coat later on. Been painting little troops for such a long time, it feels quite nice to be able to spread the paint over such a large area. How goes the monorail, Kez? Is that going well? Have you managed to prime the underside? I read your live chat comment in the intermission saying that you were wondering why the speed paint wasn't sticking to the underside of the trains because you hadn't primed it. Have you been able to go back and redo that? Just thinking about how much I can get done in tonight's show. I'm 3/4 of the way through. Yeah, it's going well, thanks. That's brilliant. Glad you got that far. I think it'd be really nice if I was able to get these hands painted red and the head painted black and just block those colours out fully, making sure that I've got all the areas, because like you can see on these hands here, there's a lot of like internal bits just in behind here, and I remember that being a bit tricky the last time I painted these. If I could get the hands and the head painted blocked out, that would be really nice. That'd be good progress to start with, because we all know what I'm like when it comes to progress. I'm shocking at it. Just getting inside this, inside the palm area, inside the fingers in here. It's a little bit fiddly, and I don't want to use my really nice brush, my Kolinsky here, to be like, you know, scatting around inside and ruffling up all my all the bristles there, ruining my brush. So I'm going to get as much done as I can with it, and then I might need to come back with a slightly, you know, less nicer brush that I could just kind of go a little bit crazy inside with and just move that paint around a little bit. Seemed to have done a pretty good job with this one. Yeah, I tried to look after my Kolinskys more than everything else. Need to wash that brush out a little bit. Kind of clams up pretty quickly. It starts to, as you're moving that paint around, it gets thick and you can feel it sort of drying in the bristles. Got to keep the bristles moist. There's just a couple of little details in there, just refusing to take the paint. Just in and around the details and things in there. Come on, you. Nice. Okay, that's that hand done. Let's move on to the other one. It's got the icon on this side, which is interesting because the other one's got the icon on the other hand. So I could have had like one with two icons and one with none. It's nice that they've got one for each. Like I say, I didn't make these models, so I didn't have any control over that. How's the bocage going, Jeff? It always feels weird when I refer to that. How's the bocage going, Dad? For those of you that might be new to the show, Jeff is my dad and owns and runs and makes stuff for Purple Lion Creations. There's links to Purple Lion Creations down in the description of this video. You should definitely go check him out. I'm not just saying it because it's my dad, but I suppose it is a free plug for advertising. So you can go on down to his Facebook page and his website and have a look at the stuff that he's done. It doesn't do templates necessarily. He just does, you know, I was going to say bocage bills. He does do bocage bills, but he does, what do you call it? I got tripped up on my own words again. Like, you know, like tailor-made stuff. So you could just be like, I wanna build this, and he'd be like, okay, I'll draw a picture. What does this look like? And you'd be like, yeah, that's really good, but can I have this? And he's like, yes, it can. And then you can make whatever you want. So if you fancy having some like tailor-made stuff built for your table, go and check out my dad's website and go check out his Facebook page because it's really, really good. Like, it's amazing stuff. And you'd be like, yeah, of course you say that's your dad, but no, seriously, it's really good. And because you're making bocage, I forgot what the other B word is when you, bespoke, that's the word. How I wish I could go back in time and stop myself looking like a complete fool. on the internet. So at the beginning of the show I said, you know, I'm not a pro, I'm not a very good painter, I'm also not a very good live streamer. But maybe you like the charm. Hopefully. It's about all that's going for me, really. I know there's quite a few parts on these hands that are going to be silver, like the insides of the digits and the joints and things, but just like with everything, it's just nice to get a good even colour over this whole area, and then if I miss a bit later on, at least there isn't this like stark bit of orange shining through that looks completely out of place. But just covering my bases later, really. I remember on the last one that I did, painting the hands was particularly difficult, trying to get in behind this kind of flappy elbow cover here, trying to make sure that this side stays red and that the silver limb stays livid without kind of getting one on the other. Obviously I can paint one with a little less with a steady hand, but the other one's got to go on quite well, so I think that'll be silver. Be a bit easier to kind of get that on there, I think. Almost got the second layer of red down here. Sorry, the first layer. Got to go back in with a second in a little while. Gonna need some more paint. And I lined up all of my Martians the other day, and I was really... Adrian says bespoke, I can see it inside there. Yeah, bespoke. I'm sorry, I had a moment. I lined up all my Skitara units, all my Martians and stuff the other day to see what the units look like all together. And while you can see that there's definitely a progression between them, separating the quality of them a little bit and the styles which I've done, they look really cool when they're all together. Because of the different things that I've done since starting them, like different base rim colours and different ways of styling the ground underneath them and the different ways I've done the silver, I'm going to try and unify them all a little bit. Once I've got this guy done, I'm going to go back through all their bases and paint all the base rims the same colour. I really liked the black rims that I was doing the other week. I don't like a true black rim, so I was using Corax black, which I've spoke about, my joy for Corax black in the past. It's like a really, really dark grey, and when you get a nice coat of it, it just has a really nice sort of finish to it as well. And I think it just makes the base rim just look really tidy and really pro, which is really nice for these miniatures. But some of them are red, some of them are a little bit untidy, so I need to kind of go back through them all and just try to match them up a little bit and bring them all together, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to try and tidy up the ground on them, because one thing that I haven't really mastered with the Martians yet is how to do the sort of ground on them, and I've been a little bit lazy on some of them. Like on my earlier robot, it's just flat ground, looks a bit rubbish. I mean, it looks nice, but it doesn't do anything, and it just looks a little bit flat in its colour scheme, and I know that the black will also make that pop, so I do have to go back over all of them, sort of unify them a little bit. I don't want to start painting them all over again just because I've got better at painting them. It's natural that you'll have a sign of progression, especially if you're a slow painter like I am. But yeah, I do want to try and match them together a little bit, and it'll be on the bases mostly that I do that. Jeff says, Staff, does this mean that next time you play Water Tanker you got to bring your cat? Please don't bring your cat to my house. My cats will have a fit. They won't like it, and then we'll all have cats on our tanks, and we don't want that. Yes, but it is a good point. Jeff says, I'm cheating by making stone walls from foam sheets. Shh, don't tell anyone, okay? I won't say a word. Have you moved away from sculpting on clay now? Have you tried to go back into foam, or is this just an experiment, or is this a customer's design? Castellan TV says, Danny, with red hands you have become lobster robot. Yes, I have. My big red lobster hands. Back to the first hand. Let's second layer on there. Don't think I've let that first one dry well, so I'll just keep that nice and brief. There we go. Yeah, I'll let that go for a little bit longer. And I'll move on to the head, and I'll get a bit of black on the head there, and I'll just kind of make it look really nice, I think, and just set the tone. So let's go for some black. Where's my black? Found it. Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't wax the black. I genuinely couldn't be bothered. I'm just quite excited by the fact that I've made pretty good progress on the first day of painting this bad boy. On a bit heavy there. When I first put it on, I was looking really washed out and thin. I was like, oh, I know I'm going to do another coat on it, but it looks awful. So I went in really heavy, and yeah, it looks even worse. Again, just looking for reference on the other one. Brilliant. Just making sure that that little square effort at the back there, that is supposed to be black. Sorry, it's supposed to be orange. So I'm not going to paint that. Just making sure that I've got good coverage over everything without going too close to the edges. This brush is a bit too big to try and be neat and tidy around the collar there. I'll come in with a smaller brush in a minute. Have I just got red paint all over my thumbs and fingers? No, it's so good, it's key. Flamethrower is in the way a little bit. Doesn't matter if I get paint on it now, but I just want to make sure that I'm not going to like paint a big splodge on there, lose any detail that I didn't recognise. You know, maybe I didn't notice I painted it or anything. You know what I'm like for getting paint in places I shouldn't. Okay. Right, let's move on to a smaller brush. Go. I think I should go down to my 0. Probably a good choice. It's been working well for me lately. Jeff says, nah, it's just a quick way of doing walls for bocage. They'll be covered in grass and foliage and dirt and stuff. For your bocage builds, yeah, I can see why you want to do that. You've got like this really nice technique with your clay walls for your buildings that I thought that you always would have stuck with, and it would have been a shame for you to have lost that. But I see, yeah, doing it at bocage makes a lot of sense. Don't worry, I won't tell a soul. Staff says, the tank's fine, it's the white truck that now has dark hair stuck to it. Yeah, I've got a couple of cats that, you know, vary in colours, and they sticks to everything, and now everything has hair on it, and because of the varying colours, it doesn't matter what colour that you wear. But of course I wear a black shirt here, so I do actually have to de-lint myself before the show. And the shirt actually stays in the studio during the week when I'm off air, and the cats aren't allowed in here, so I do try to limit the amount of fur that I come into contact with. Might have to actually add a little bit of water to this black just to get it in around the edges there. And easy, nice and smooth. Dave says, now you have a truck that purrs, more like screeches and legs it with a toy chasing her. Cats, man. Who'd have 'em? Oh, look at me in the steady hands today. What's going on? It's looking okay. It's starting to match up a little bit. Looking good. Again, just wash my brush out. We're 15 minutes from the end of the show. Sorry about that. Hope that's okay. I'm really happy with what I've managed to do tonight. I hope you guys have had a productive evening of painting. But of course, as I move into the more detailed areas now is where the job's going to start slowing down a little bit. I just want to try and keep the pace, you know, keep the momentum. Just bump my head off of the microphone. The head hasn't glued tightly to the plastic collar around it, so there's an ever so slight lip that if I'm very, very careful, I can just slide the bristles of my brush. If the paint is watery enough, you can actually just slide it underneath that other layer of plastic, and it just looks like it's a really nice, neat job. I do have to be careful, and the paint obviously has to be thick enough that the colour stays, but thin enough that it doesn't just blob everywhere. What a clever person I am. I just need a little bit more black there, actually, just a little bit. I pour it with my left hand. That's dangerous, isn't it? Can I do it? It's an air bubble. There's some paint. There we go, lovely. My concentration voice coming back out again. You know, where I don't say anything. Gonna take this opportunity to give it a quick thin coat over the top just to make it a bit more opaque. Because I've got so much silver to do in and around a lot of the orange parts, it's actually going to make it quite a bit probably going to slow me down a little. So one of those things that I'm trying to do is just get confident in these sorts of times, in these sorts of places. So I know I can do it. I know I can. But have faith in myself. Oh, just like that. Wonderful. That was good. That was fast. That was a good cover as well. Last little bit of the collar just here. A bit there, of course. That was nice and smooth. Also, what was taking me the time on this side was just trying to make sure I got it in behind the gun. It was quite close to the top of the head there. And we are done. Excellent. Yes, the hands need a second coat. Yes, I still need to get in behind in the armpits in there. But I will be doing that this evening over on Discord. So at the end of the show, I don't disappear straight away. I will go say hello to my partner when she's coming from work, but I'll come back into the studio. I'll only be gone for a minute or two, and I will continue to paint these hands until I'm happy with the opacity of the colour and the coverage of the area, and then I'll call it a day from there. So if you wanted to join me after the show, come on for a video chat, come and join me on the Discord channel, the Easy 8 After Party. Easy 8 After Party. Of course, hard to muddle my words. Easy to muddle my words up. Nice. That's worked out really well. Happy with that. Starting to get some character now. It's great. Stuff says that working out how to mount a Yank Panther gun onto a pickup. Any suggestions? Yeah, big bolts. Are you gonna learn FOW then? FOW? FOW? Flames of War. Flames of War. There we go. It took a second for it to stick in. While I would love to learn to play Flames of War, I've been invited to someone's house to learn how to play bolt action. So really looking forward to that, which is a scale that I don't play in World War II, because obviously I play 15mm. I'm really looking forward to it. I really like the models. I've just never had anyone to play with. Never, when I started doing World War II, no one sort of collected alongside me. So I've never really pursued it that much. I had a couple of models for funsies. So yeah, it's just going to be really nice to have a go. Red in there, I think. When it comes to using shades and washes on the reds, on the previous robot, I just stayed using Seraphim, and it toned the colour down, but it didn't actually do a very good job of filtering or shading this area. So what I'm probably going to do is still use Seraphim on it to kind of just match the colour a little. And when it comes to doing something like the panel lines or whatever, I might just move on to Agrax Earthshade because it's that darker brown, it's a bit more dominant. It should help sort of shade the area better than the Seraphim will. The Seraphim on the orange, of course, because the orange is so much brighter, will work much tidier. So I'm not going to put any Seraphim on the orange. The shading has worked. It's very, very subtle. It stopped the orange from being so in your face. I wonder, once I finished it, how well that will show through. Interesting little experiment without wasting too much time. I think it would have worked better if I'd done like a darker pre-shade and then sprayed orange over the top. But sometimes you just gotta have a go, right? At least it didn't go wrong. Still need more red. Jeff says, think Bolt Action was written by the old GW guys. You are correct. Yeah, it's Warlord Games. It's the original guys from Games Workshop. Dave says, yeah, you could use you could use super glue, or it's still connected to the cat, or is it still connected to the cat? I see that Scallion's suggesting blue tack for Stafford. Blue tack will work. It's like a cheap alternative to a magnet. It's just if it's holding any particular weight, it can't hold it up very well. But for holding smaller parts in place, I use it as like a draft for when I'm painting Space Marines or something, and they've got like big weapons or something in front of their chest. You want to make sure that everything is painted together so that you get like paint schemes working. You don't have like two separate pieces that are painted separately, and it can obviously show up sometimes. If you blue tack them together, you can paint the whole thing, take them apart, and then glue them later. I think a third coat of paint will really work on these hands. But I still need to get in behind in the tops in there. So that's what I'm really going to be focusing on in the after party. We're looking good though. We're looking really good. I'm really happy with that. Would love to know what everybody else's thoughts are on this. I will take a photo at the end of the show, pop them up on Facebook, where you'll definitely get to see the pre-shading coming through a little bit stronger. It looks quite dulled down here and then quite bright from the top. That's not a shadow, that is actually the paintwork doing its thing there. That's kind of cool, huh? Anyway, we are pretty much at the end of the show. Just making sure there's no last little bits of red that I can't do right now. No, I think we're there. I think we're done. And that is fine. So, what am I going to do on the gun up here? Well, the gun here, as you can see, it's a totally different gun, but it's mounted in exactly the same way. They both have like little ammo things sticking off the side. This one's obviously got some sort of fuel canister. It has bolts on it, so it's not supposed to be like a see-through canister. It's supposed to be like a metal container. But then, why would you have like flamethrower fuel in a glass vial, and you'd have it armoured? So I'd probably try to paint it as close to this as I possibly can. Trying to do like blacks and silvers as much as possible. I think what I've done on this one is I've actually done like the body of the gun itself, like the receiver, if you want to call it that, is black but weathered with metal, and the barrel is metal with some little gold accents on there. So what I'll do here is I'll probably yeah, the arm will be silver, the little frame down here will be black, and the body here will all be black. I like to do golden sort of muzzles for flamethrowers, but I'll definitely have a look at doing it in silver, because it might be nice to take a departure from my old ways. I don't know why I ever did them in gold. It'd be quite nice if I did some soot travelling on it as well. That'd be quite cool. And I'll try and pick out any accents that I can in gold. And if that doesn't look good, then of course I can do the whole muzzle area, whatever you'd call that bit. I don't really know what you'd call it. I do that in gold if it all doesn't work out. We've got some little pipes and things on there. Don't really know what colour I'm going to do those yet. Whatever stands out the most, I think. If it's all going to be black, then silver might be quite cool. And of course, if you have a look at the ammo box on this gun, you can see that it's got like a little frame around it, which is silver, where it's like a little cradle that it sits in. That's silver, and the box itself is black that's been weathered silver. So I might do the same, or I might pick it out in a slightly different colour to signify that it's, you know, promethium, because that's the chemical that is used in the 40k universe in human society, be it Space Marines or the Imperial Guard or the Adeptus Mechanicus. Promethium is the petroleum substitute. So I might paint it a colour that just kind of makes it stand out a bit more. Not like a bright colour, maybe a muted sort of purpley blue or something. It's just the first kind of colours that come into my head. Something that kind of stands out against the warm tones that are on the actual model itself. And trying to, you know, use the colour wheel to my advantage, perhaps. But then, because I'm incredibly OCD in this manner, if I ever come across in the same army something that is the same ammo type or whatever, I'll have to make sure that it's painted the same colour, so I'll have to remember what that is. Once that's done, all of the under pieces here will all be silver. It's quite a lengthy process, but I can get it done fairly quickly. Basically, if it looks like some sort of cowling or fairing or armor plating, then it stays this orange color. But you can see like the legs and the joints, the internal parts, if you like, they're all going to be silver. This big engine that sticks out, that's all silver. And then this like power unit, power pack, or whatever it is that the gun sits on, underneath there is all silver as well. You can see that in on the comparison on the other machine here, where all these parts down here are really silver. I use just a standard Vallejo silver, I think it's called chainmail. It is chainmail. And then I put a 50-50 mix of water and Basilicanum grey contrast paint and wash that all over, and it just works really, really well. I've decided obviously not to use the realistic silvers. While they do look very realistic, it's just too much on this miniature, or on miniatures of this scale. So it was a good lesson learned. And then of course there's a few pipes and things in here accented in gold. So yeah, that's the target, that's the goal. How much I'll get done over the next week, I don't know. But of course I'll be here next Friday. Let me come away from the workbench now, because we are done here for the short term anyway. Let's move away. Where are we? Hi. So yeah, really good progress. Really, really happy with that. Nice to have a little counterpart for my first Castellan Robot. They do typically come in pairs. You can buy. You could just have one if you wanted, but for the points that you pay, you get two. So if I had one, then I would sell myself short with the points that I'd be using in game. How points are going to work in 10th, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'm sure that it will still have a similar sort of costing and application. Got a little ways to go. I'm hoping to keep the weathering toned down. The first thing before I get into the weathering is just trying to mute the orange down so that it matches the other one. I think it's probably going to be the hardest thing out of all of this, is trying to make sure that even though the weathering is less, is that the colours aren't don't stand out too striking or dull down too much. But little bit by little bit, right? Less is more. Build it up over time. Anyway, that's enough from me. I've had a really productive evening. I hope you guys have had loads, that you've got loads done this evening. And thanks very much for coming along. Jeff says, just before we go anywhere, can I ask, why are you putting a Jagdpanther gun on a truck? Just thought it might be better in a Jagdpanther. Staff says, Gaslands. Yeah, Gaslands. Put a big gun on something. That must mean that it's for Rutherford. Is that the correct team? They're the only ones that can use the big guns like that. Anyway, I've had a fantastic evening. Thank you very much for coming along. It's been a much more lively chat than last week. But of course, don't forget to spread the word of Easy 8. Don't forget to share some love. Talk about it to your friends. Go and talk about it at work. Talk to someone who you've never met before, if you're comfortable with that, of course, and tell them all about Easy 8 and get them to subscribe to Out of This World Models and Minis just for this week, and then you can go back to subscribing to this channel, just because it's nice to share a little bit of love for somebody else. Of course, don't forget that it's not just John that has his own YouTube channel that I support. There's loads of other companies, loads of other businesses, etc., and people that do some wonderful content, and all of their links to all of their sites and their Facebook pages and their YouTube channels and everything is all down there in the description of this video. Do please take the time to go and just check them out. Just check out one, and go and see what they're all about. And don't forget that if you do get in contact with them, to mention the Easy 8, because yeah, that's what we're all about here, is sharing the love for the hobby and each other. So yeah, it all got a little bit emotional there, didn't it? Anyway, until next week, my name's been Danny, this has been Easy 8, this is Online Painting Club. I'll see you guys next week. Until then, stay safe, be kind, and keep on painting, and I'll see you soon. Take care now, bye bye. I was trying to lean forwards really sneakily there, but my chair gave it away. Really need to change that.